of office. Sorry, I'll start over. Good morning, everyone. My name is Jonathan Lackritz. I'm a program manager at the California Public Utilities Commission. This is a second in series of office hours that we are holding about the BEAD program. Next slide, please. As said, I'm Jonathan Lackritz. So our agenda for today. So I will talk a little bit about why we're here and some housekeeping about how to ask questions. We'll go ahead and do the questions and answers, and then I'll wrap it up with some next steps and reminders. Just as a reminder for folks who are not familiar with Zoom, we have Zoom buttons across the bottom of the screen. We ask that when you're ready to ask a question, if you can put the question in the chat or a summary of your question, keep yourself on mute. We'll call on you, and then we will take you off mute. You'll have an opportunity to take yourself off mute. If you want to turn on your video, you can. You can ask your question, then we'll go ahead and answer it. And then we're not going to do follow-ups immediately. Instead, we will try to get through everyone has questions first and then come back if there are follow-ups on the question that you want to ask yourself or a follow-up on someone else's question. That way we make sure everyone has an opportunity to ask a question. We're a pretty small group today, so we can kind of keep it informal. Next slide, please. So this is an opportunity for participants in the BEAD process to ask questions about the challenge process and the BEAD program in general. Keep in mind that we may not have all the answers today, as the BEAD program is developing constantly and is dependent on a number of factors. The CPUC is required to follow the rules of the NTIA, which administers the BEAD program. Questions and answers for this meeting will later be posted in the FAQ on our website. We will also record this session and post it on our website. With that, I think we're ready to go ahead and start with questions. So if anyone has a question, if you can please put your question or a summary of your question in the chat, and then we'll go ahead and call on you. Thank you. Does anyone have any questions? You can just say yes in the chat or raise your hand. Hey, Len, go ahead, please.
Hi. So I've built a speed test based off of this open source OpenSpeedTest.net service. The University of Chicago built something else, something using the same tool for Illinois, and I posted the link to that in the Q&A. So I'm wondering if there is something I need to do to vet my test with the CPUC, just to make sure we don't go down this road without, making sure it's going to count.
Thank you for the question. Yes, we are inquiring with the NTIA to find out if that test is applicable in our approved initial proposal, volume 1. We did not include that speed test. We had attempted to include the state of California speed test, and that was denied. So we are checking with the NTIA, and we'll post an answer in our FAQ. We're also aware that you sent the question, Len. Thank you. To our inbox, and we've been working on trying to get answers to that. The BEAD challenge platform we're using, which is being provided by ready.net, will have the ability for residents in California to be able to enter information about challenges that they want to propose, that then an eligible or permissible entity would actually be able to file. That is tribal governments, local governments, and nonprofits. As part of that website, it will have the ability for residents to be able to run the required 3 speed tests. And so that will be a platform that will be available for folks. The benefit of that particular platform is that those challenges will then be available for permissible entities to be able to pick them up and actually submit them on the behalf of residents.
That's great news. Is there a timeline for when that might be available for us to start poking around with it?
We do not have a timeline currently. It's under development,
Okay.
but we will provide updates on our website, and we will be providing more information about a toolkit for permissible entities who are interested in filing challenges on behalf of residents.
Okay, terrific. Thank you.
Okay. Our next question is from Justin Campbell. What version of the FCC BDC data will be used for the map? And the short answer is that we are going to be using the version that was just released. And I'll turn to Phil or Amy for the exact version numbers, since I have a hard time remembering those.
Sure. So, sorry.
No, that's okay, Amy. You go ahead. You go ahead.
Phil, go ahead.
Okay. We will be using version 4.0, which is the latest version that is available right now. Just became available recently, earlier in May, and the BDC version will be available shortly.
Are there any other, if you have questions, you can either put them in the Q&A feature or the chat feature. Both are enabled. And you can also raise your hand if you have a question, so we know if you're working on one. Thank you.
Sorry, I joined a little bit late. I hope this isn't a repeat question. Landon Beer with Nevada County. I'd emailed a question regarding access and registering for the challenge portal. And my question was, because we were given instructions to have somebody register, and we're trying to determine who the right person is for our organization to register, and if sub-accounts would be available to be created for additional staff who are going to be participating in and helping with the data review and validation of evidence.
I'm going to turn that question over to Phil or Amy, if that's okay.
Sure. Thank you for your question. I'm glad you've determined there's going to be a primary person responsible. You have an option within the portal when you register to invite your teammates. Everybody that you would like to be part of your review team, you should just invite as teammates.
Thank you, Phil. That helps.
Next, we have a question from Ben Hewlett, and I'm going to ask Ben if you could clarify when you say, please review the timing going forward, which specific timing are you referring to?
The timing of when the challenge window will open, as it's described in volume 2, all of the materials that were provided for the challenge process, and I guess the upcoming application process, just those windows. I'm a little fuzzy on when those windows begin and end, and if they're not defined yet, I just need to know that and when we might anticipate them to be defined.
Sure, I can start off with the answer on that and then let Amy and Phil add on. So the challenge process, there are fixed windows for the periods for, it's a 30-day period for the challenge process. There's a 14-day review period, 30-day period for rebuttals, and then approximately 30 to 45 days for the CPUC to review challenges and then do final adjudication of challenges. After the challenge, after all that's done, we will make public our resolution of the challenges and also submit it for NTIA for their approval. After NTIA approves that, then we can move on to the subgrantee selection process, but there are 3 conditional factors before the subgrantee selection process can begin. First, our initial proposal, volume 2, needs to be approved by NTIA. Then that proposal will also be approved by our agency, the California Public Utilities Commission. And then lastly, we need to have the portal up and available. So I'm not going to speculate about when all those activities will occur, except to say that I think that we're anticipating that the challenge process will start either later in June or in July, and encourage you to sign up for our email updates and also check our website. If you check the website for the challenge process, the CPC website under the BEAD, and go to the challenge tab, there is more information about the challenge process. There are also recordings of prior webinars we've had in which we've discussed the individual steps in the challenge process and kind of go over the timing of those steps. Amy or Phil, is there anything you'd like to add?
No, I think you covered that well. Thank you, Jonathan. It's good.
Yeah, thank you. So we're still waiting on when the first window, which is the challenge window, when that's scheduled to be open for the 30 days, correct? We're still waiting to determine that?
That is correct, yes. That will be posted on our website. Hopefully in the next couple of weeks, we'll be able to let people know when we're going to start the challenge process.
Okay, is my understanding that volume 2 was approved? I guess volume 2 has not been approved?
That is correct. Volume 2 has not been approved for our state. Other states have had their volume 2 approved, but ours has not.
And as I understand it, we have to initiate the challenge process within 60 days of volume 2 being approved, correct? Is that right?
I don't think that's correct. I believe that once a volume 1's been approved, we're able to initiate the challenge process. In our state, both volume 1 needs to be approved by both the NTIA and off that, and also by our agency. I believe that we can, for the subgrantee selection process, which is volume 2, we cannot start accepting applications until 60 days after the end, after NTIA has approved the final set of eligible locations. And then once NTIA approves volume 2, we have 365 days to run the subgrantee selection process and then provide recommendations to NTIA on final awards, and then they will validate and approve those final awards.
Thank you.
Sure. I'm going to move on. It looks like there's another question that we have, and that's it's a combination about asking when is the toolkit going to be available. And the toolkit should be posted shortly. We're in the process of recording videos that can be used by entities, in addition to having the presentation and other supporting materials. At this point in time, the toolkit is only going to be available in English. However, if there's a specific need for it in a different language, we're certainly open to that, and those requests are best made through bead@cpuc.ca.gov. I'm not seeing any other questions in the chat or the Q&A.
Can you repeat that email address? Sorry, Jonathan.
Sorry, oh, no problem. bead@cpuc.ca.gov.
Thank you.
And that's for any question you have about the BEAD program. It's kind of our general email inbox, and we track all the questions and work on providing responses. And as we provide responses, we will also be updating our FAQ. Yes, Ben, go ahead, please.
Yeah, it's as I recall, the national broadband map and the resultant fabric of reported broadband availability at all locations throughout the country is going to be published on May 17th. Is that correct?
Yes, parts of it were published on May 17th. As Phil explained earlier, they have now recently released all the information related to that.
Oh, I missed that. I apologize.
No, it's okay. It's confusing. There are several different elements to it. There's both the fabric and there's the availability. And then I'm going to pause for a minute to see if Amy or Phil want to add more. It looks like Amy does. Go ahead, please.
Can I add one point? And that is, so the state also needs to use that information as filtered through the NTIA, which is running the BEAD program. So the National Telecommunications and Information Administration is the agency responsible for the BEAD program, and they are providing a set of data that is for the states to use, that is a version of the data that the FCC makes available. So there's typically a lag between when the FCC makes that data available and when it's available to the state through NTIA's portal.
Is all that information, oh, it's in process right now? I heard version 4 from Phil. I don't know what version 4 applies to. Is that version 4 of the BDC, the National Broadband Map, or version of what?
Would you like me to answer that one, Amy? And Jonathan? Hi, Ben. Thanks for your question. The version 4.0 that I was referring to that was released earlier this month is the version 4 of the fabric. That is all of the address information that is available nationwide. This is the NTIA version. The availability data, which is currently the state is waiting upon, which will be released very soon, relates directly to the version 4 of the fabric, and that will be available shortly.
Okay, so the location IDs is available now from NTIA, and the broadband availability information that all of us reported through BDC as of some date, which I'd like to know, is forthcoming. So there's two pieces, the fabric ID and then the broadband availability for each location ID is going to come in a separate data set. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
So it's really the fabric IDs or the location IDs really are of not any significance for the challenge process without the broadband information that associate with each location ID, correct?
That is correct, yes.
Okay. Do we know when well, do we have an anticipated date when is it the FCC that's providing the broadband data for each location? What entity was?
No, this is the National Telecommunications Information Association, NTIA. They will be releasing that data set with the availability information on shortly, and we will post that date in the FAQ when it is available.
Do you know what vintage of data that information from NTIA is going to be based upon? December 23rd, November 23rd of 2023, December 3rd, December of 2023, or March 1 of 2024, or do we know?
We talking about the availability or the fabric?
Oh, well, both, I would imagine, because availability data corresponds to a location ID, and we all, as providers, reported our broadband availability. Latest report date was March 1. So what I'm asking is, what data, broadband data, is the NTIA fabric going to be based upon? That data submitted from November of last year, from December of last year, or from March of this year?
Phil, do you mind if I cut in? I think
So-
Jonathan answered this earlier when he said that update will be posted to the website. So that's stay tuned for that information as information gets posted to the website.
And also,
So we don't know what vintage of broadband data the National Broadband Map is going to be based upon.
so I think maybe, Ben, the best option here is, while we're answering other people's questions, I want to make sure we get to them, that we can endeavor to get you a link to the NTIA's website. They're the ones that prepare the map, so they have the most accurate information about how they prepare the map and what data they're using.
Okay, so I'll research that to find out what it will be based upon is what I'm hearing, right?
Right, or that's probably the best source of information for you until it's actually released. Then, of course, we would know
We
that
don't know.
answer. But they
Okay,
prepare the
thank
maps,
you,
we don't.
thank you.
Okay, I'm going to move on to a question from Landon Beard, and he's asking about and I need a little bit of clarity on the question, Landon, about the question about 3,000 addresses missing from the FCC maps. If you could clarify whether that is they're not in the fabric or the status of the address is whether it's served or unserved is not accurate.
Yeah, so I'm getting this secondhand from our previous coordinator on broadband here, and what I was told is that as of January of this year, we were still at 3,000 addresses missing from the fabric. And there was a challenge process, and we did some initial work on that to add those in with only about a 40% success rate. We did about 100 as a trial run, and wondering now if it's and sorry, one of the challenges was getting funding to provide the staff labor to do that work. So we've got some ideas on that now, but wondering if it's worth the effort and if it will impact our ability for the challenge process, if that data would be incorporated if we were to do the work now.
So I'll start off answering and then Amy and Phil, and no doubt will be able to add on since my knowledge is limited. So as a starting point, the challenge process is to determine whether locations that are already in the fabric are served, unserved, or underserved, or a community anchor institution. The challenge process, as NTIA has rules established, do not allow us to add points to the fabric. And
Is
as
the fabric set then for the challenge process at this time?
yes, and that's the discussion we were just having, is that the most recent version of the fabric has been released.
Okay, so it would not be worth our while as part of this effort then.
Not necessarily as part of this effort, but
But it would be good to be accurate for
well,
the future.
and the FCC fabric will be used both for potentially future and other programs that at the federal level, and also we use the FCC fabric in our state programs as well. So there is value to having the fabric being accurate. We don't run the FCC runs that process. We don't, so I can't speak to the success rate about getting the FCC to change whether a location exists or not. That's outside the scope of what we're doing in terms of administering the BEAD program. But there is value overall to having the fabric being accurate.
That helps. Thank you. We'll continue to pursue getting that done, but it sounds like there's not a time sensitivity related to the challenge process at this moment.
Right.
Since
The
that
challenge.
fabric is set.
Right. It's about so the way I like to put it, it's about what shade is the dot on the map, not does the dot exist or not. And
Yeah,
Phil, do you
understand.
want to add anything to the answer?
Understand. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there other questions that folks have? At this point, I think you can just raise your hand. We'll give everyone a minute to see if they have any other questions before we wrap things up. Does anyone have any additional questions? If you can just raise your hand and let us know, that would be great. Or either just chime in. Okay, want to thank everyone for participating and also remind you that we have additional office hours coming up. So if you have questions, there'll be that opportunity. Plus, you can always send your questions to bead@cpuc.ca.gov. Just to wrap up, I'm going to go over that the exact dates of the challenge process for California are still to be determined. We will post them on our website and also send out updates to folks who sign up for email updates from us. Encourage everyone to sign up here to receive email updates on the BEAD, on the challenge process and the BEAD program generally. If you have questions about tech support on the challenge portal, ready.net is our vendor. And on the slide, which we will post on our website, there's an email address to ask those questions. With regards to general questions, as I've mentioned several times, bead@cpuc.ca.gov is your best source to send those questions to. We also have links to our BEAD page. We have a challenge process page, and we also have our frequently asked questions. We have recorded all of our webinars and Q&A sessions. About 2 weeks after they occur, we post the videos for them and the presentations too, so folks are able to follow along and use the information. We'll be putting more information about the toolkit up on our website. And I think with that, that ends our Q&A session for today. Thank everyone. Oh, sorry, we have a great slide. You can go back to the slide, upcoming events. Our next office hours are June 6th from 10 to 11. And we will be posting on our website additional webinars we will have, including the challenge process for broadband service providers and information about how residents in California can use a dedicated website to be able to submit their interest in filing a challenge that then municipal entities will be able to pick up, as we discussed earlier. So more information is going to be coming out in the upcoming weeks. Thank you, everyone, for participating and for your questions. Again, we will be taking these questions down and posting answers in our FAQ as well. Thank you and have a great day. Sorry.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.